So first of all, I want to offer pranams to the custodians of this beautiful tradition, to Ganapati, to Saraswati, Dakshinamurti, the first teacher, and then to my own gurus, and my thanks to you for inviting me in this beautiful event that's honoring the great C.S. Patel. So I'm very honored to be part of this. So I wanted to bring forward this particular topic because it's quite basic. There's so many fancy and wonderful ways of making predictions, but sometimes getting back to the fundamentals is really important. And this may sound like an odd name. It is an odd name, but it's an analogy that I find very useful in putting together a good prediction. So obviously almond butter sandwich would be a lot more sattvic, but back in the days when I was going to school, we all had our lunch buckets, and we would open our lunch buckets and there would be a sandwich. There wasn't hot food in a cafeteria then, all of those things. Since then, things have gotten a lot fancier, but a sandwich was very important because it was filling. And to have a proper sandwich, you needed 2 pieces of bread and then some kind of comfort food in the middle to hold it together and to be sustaining. If you lacked any of the parts of that sandwich, it wasn't a proper sandwich. In those days, the kids all loved this peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it was the king of all the sandwiches. So you might be wondering now whether you wandered into the wrong lecture, but as you will see, I'm talking about 3 non-negotiable components for a proper sandwich. And in an analogical way, there are 3 non-negotiable components of making a proper prediction. And it's going to involve, a lot of you are probably more advanced, but this is going to involve basic building blocks of Jyotisha. So the astrological equivalent of a peanut butter sandwich is looking at something my teacher always called 3-way confluence. So there's a rule of 3 in many methods, including scientific method. I was trained as a geneticist. If you would see the same outcome through 3 independent variables, then it had a good possibility of being true. So we're going to be looking at 3-way confluence involving static analysis and a dynamic analysis. And through those methods, if one comes out with the same conclusion, prediction. So what does that mean for the peanut butter sandwich? So we're going to equate the first slice of bread to static analysis. We all know that the clearly is a blueprint. It's the prarabdha karma that we're bringing into this lifetime. And so the static components that we all study are obviously looking at the grahas, and particularly looking of the grahas. Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they afflicted? And then, of course, we all know of vichara, doing the analysis, and we all know yoga vichara. So these are all part of static analysis. We're not considering how the chart evolves through time. But this is the foundation. Unless we know and understand the grahas and what they're doing, what their role is in a particular chart, we won't be able to access bread. And it needs to be a good piece of bread. If it's moldy, you're not going to want to eat that sandwich. So if there are defects in the static considerations, how would you be able to build a sturdy prediction? So then the next thing we want to look at is the filling of the sandwich, the peanut butter. this would be one of the components of analysis. And of course, that would be the Dasha. So very important to understand the Dasha. And then, of course, the Bhukti. So the peanut butter and the jelly, if you don't have that, a piece of bread is not lunch. You need the filling. And then, whoops, the third piece of bread, we didn't get there, did we? Or the third phase of it is the second piece of bread, which is the transits. So transits are also part of dynamic analysis. So life unfolds, we know, in an orderly way, in accordance with the natal patterns. Various parts of the chart get activated when a particular graha is on center stage. So another analogy we love to use, the whole prarabdha karma is a play that we have written for this lifetime. And the grahas are the kartas, they're the doers. And if we come to center stage, they have the microphone and the spotlight, and they share it with the Bhukti Lord, and then of course down to another level as well. And orderly progression through life gives the possibility of these events happening that we can predict. And we predict it through the ever-shifting patterns of the cosmic kaleidoscope through time as well. And that is the known as Gochara. And as all of you know, Gochara, Go refers to anything having to do with cattle and herds. And so the grahas are sometimes considered to be the herds of the stars that move through the sky. And Go also means light. And Chara means to wander. So therefore, Gochara is the name given to this movement of the grahas in the heavens based on the observation of their light. So we're going to take this analogy of the peanut butter sandwich and these three components and look at the chart of a fairly famous person and see how a prediction come forward. So my teacher always said that you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Sometimes the art of prediction through transits is rather superficial. What we mean by you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear is if there isn't a promise in the natal chart, then the Gochara isn't going to really amount to much. So these days, there's a kind of superficial idea about this. Oh, Mercury is retrograde. As if that would be true of everyone. And the same is true of a lovely pattern that may be there in the cosmos. It doesn't apply to everyone. It doesn't mean if Jupiter is exalted, everybody in the world is going to benefit. It would really depend on what Jupiter in a particular horoscope. So with this in mind, we're going to look at the chart of, Taylor Swift. So let's check out, look at all three layers. We're going to look at the natal pattern. We're going to look at a particular dasha that she was running at a key point in life, and then a particular transit that on an important day for her delivered big time. So we all know that Taylor Swift is completely iconic, and this is an overused word these days, but in case it's a perfect fit. She's just a remarkable life based on a remarkable destiny pattern. At the tender age of 13 years old, she signs with RCA Records and opts out of that contract because she doesn't want to sign. So right away, there's this developed personality, very determined. So she signs with another label as the youngest songwriter for the kind of deal that she makes. But she had a clause in there that no one else could sing her songs. So again, very determined personality. So when we look at her natal chart, the static potential in her natal chart, the ability to manifest one's destiny pattern is very, very important. So you could have some very nice yogas, but if you don't have what my teacher always called utilization, then you aren't going to be able to manifest it. And the seat of utilization in a chart lies with the lagna lord. We like to call the lagna lord the captain of the ship. That is what navigates us through our life and allows us to make those we all have into lemonade. If we look at Taylor Swift's lagna lord, Jupiter, she's a Sagittarius rising, we see that Jupiter is already powerful because it's retrograde. I'm not going to go into all the controversy about retrograde, other than say, through the Shastra, we know, even from the Shadbala, but it's not only that her Jupiter is retrograde. You can all probably see that Jupiter is in Mahaparivartana Yoga with Mercury. And when you have such a yoga stretching across the lagna, or indeed any Parivartana Yoga that involves the lagnesha, means that there's going to be strength, because the lagnesha virtually is as if back into the lagna, virtually. So a Mahaparivartana like this, especially between these two benefics, is very powerful. Not only does she have that Parivartana Yoga, but the 4 grahas stretched across her 1-7 axis themselves in the Sambandha are making so many yogas. You spend a lot of time just unfolding the yogas in Taylor Swift's chart. One of them, since I'm assuming there's some advanced students here, is a staggering rare yoga called a Bhari Yoga that she has perfectly. There's Raj Yoga. She has the 110 Raj Yoga, which promises preeminence. Dana Yogas, all kinds of beautiful yogas here. So the static potential for her is staggering. Fundamental, nice slice of bread, foundation of the sandwich. Let's move to the dynamic. At under 14 years old, just about 14 years old, Taylor Swift starts her Jupiter Dasha. Isn't that the finger of fate? The very graha that has all this strength, that's making all these yogas, comes to the center of her stage for 16 years. And the Dasha of the First Lord is so much about self-determination, self-development. No wonder she had all these strong ideas about how she wanted this career to unfold and got into situations where that would happen. It's such a strong Jupiter involved in so many fame combinations, and also very publicly going through her own turmoil at that adolescent age. So the bhava of the public, and moon is a graha of the public, is also activated. So she winds up writing songs that's all about her very personal perspective on growing up. And she has tweeners, adolescent girls all over the world relating to those themes. And so she writes songs from a very personal perspective, and her career completely takes off. So that Jupiter is both her lagna lord and her dasha lord coming to the center of the stage at this pivotal time. Those are two independent variables. Lagna lord and not her dasha lord. She could have had that dasha way later in life. But no, this is starting to build this idea of confluence. Now, her chart is so compelling that it isn't difficult to predict that she's going to be an amazing success. However, at the age of 21 years old, there's a singular event that happens, and it was January 31st, 2010. She's up for 4 Grammy Awards: Album of the Year, Best Country Album, Best Country Song, Best Female Country Artist, all 4 of those. So we're now going to move to the land of the 3 slices of bread. The 3 components. We have the bottom slice of bread, the natal triggers. We have the Dasha period, which is unbelievable. And I want to add to that, that on that day, in this period of time, the Bhukti running was Mercury. And if you think about that, Mercury is the partner in so many of these incredible yogas. So it's as if the jelly was like rose petal jelly for her that day. And then if you go down one more level to the Prachanta Dasha level, she's running Jupiter, Mercury, Jupiter. Again, another independent variable. All right, what about the other slice of bread? Because if you try to eat a peanut butter sandwich with 1 slice of bread and the peanut butter, it's very messy. You need the other slice of bread to pick it up and eat it. So what's going on with the transits? What's going on top slice of bread? So I didn't fill in all the transits, just the ones that were particularly vital for this discussion. The idea here is that a transiting planet should somehow refer back to its natal position. And we could see that Jupiter transiting here, I'm using my North Indian chart, but you can follow with the South as well, is aspecting its natal position from her 3rd bhava. So 3rd bhava is the bhava of writing, skills with the hands, playing the guitar, performance art. And this Jupiter now, by aspecting its natal position, is triggering all of these yogas. And then if we look at the rose petal jelly, Mercury, the Bhukti Lord, remarkably is back in its natal position. It's very, very strong to have the graha come back to its natal position when it's as auspicious as this. And therefore, recreating, along with the partner Jupiter, all of the auspicious combinations that they're making. So this is so striking. And what happened on that day, there's our peanut butter sandwich, peanut butter and jelly sandwich in this particular case. She makes music history by receiving 4 of the top Grammy Awards. Album of the Year, Best Country Album, Best Country Song, Best Female Country Artist. No one had ever done that. And she is also the youngest ever to win with Album of the Year. And then if one continued following Taylor Swift, even to this day, you would be able to see her ups and downs following these transits. Now come out of her Jupiter Dasha into her Saturn Dasha. And there are other predictions that could be made on the basis of that. As beautiful and accomplished as she is, she's never married. And that is also predictable using the same peanut butter sandwich. So there she is. Congratulations. Bon appetit to Taylor Swift with her beautiful 3-way confluence. Transits, Dasha, and natal. So I could share many such instances like this. There were several people I was considering doing. I was thinking about doing Angelina Jolie with her Jupiter transitor for fifth bhava. There's so many instances where you can build a very solid fundamental prediction based on watching these confluence come together. So I would be very happy to answer any questions if anyone has. I wanted to stay within my allotted time.
I would request people to raise their hands and come on camera and ask questions if they have any questions.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing so that I could see people.
Right. Anyone, any questions? When I started teaching, I was told one thing: if after your lecture there are no questions, that means your presentation has been most perfect and covered all angles.
Well, I don't know about that. I actually love to have questions.
No, honestly, I in our institute, Jyotish Institute, Saptarishis Astrology, all the teachers, I always tell them this and one more line. I tell them, if your presentation is absolutely perfect, you're envisaged with years of experience, you envisage what are the probable questions, you already put it in your PPT. And the second thing I tell them is, please understand, like for example, McDonald's, during my MBA days, which I never completed, okay, but during my MBA days, I spent time in the library reading all about McDonald's, Ray Kroc, and such a fat book. And in that, Ray Kroc says that people think we are in the burger business, okay, but actually we are in the real estate business. He said most people do not know what business they are in. The same I tell to my teachers is, you astrology business. You are in the teaching business. You have to concentrate on how to be the best teacher in the world. And then you should realize that incidentally you're teaching astrology. So if you concentrate on the best teaching aids, if you think how the student will get confused after I teach this, what probable questions he will have, you would perfect yourself. And that way, that's how I tell them. Unfortunately, I don't follow that myself so well. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, any questions? No questions? Okay, thank you so much.
No, I do see one hand up, Srinivas.
Srinivas Kulkarni ji, yes, please come forward. Kindly unmute.
Once I good evening, madam. Hello.
Hello, I hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Madam, just I was listening to your everything explanations. Just I wanted to know, because I'm from traditional Vedic astrology, just I wanted to know in a practical way how this Parivartan Yoga between Jupiter and Mercury has helped her in a practical way.
I'm sorry, what do you want to know about the Parivartana?
Exactly, in a practical way, how the Parivartan Yoga of Jupiter and Mercury has helped her in her life.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So let's go back and
because
share.
It's not to be permanent. By birth, it will be there, and how it has activated and how it has helped in her life in a practical way.
So there are different kinds of Parivartana yogas. And Paladipika is one of the only texts that separate out what's called Mahaparivartana Yoga.
Yeah, of course.
From Kala, from Dainya. And it involves rulership of the bhavas. So a Parivartana Yoga that deals with, let's call them the positive bhavas, the Kendras, Trikonas, and we even can include second and 11th, is the highest Parivartana Yoga that gives the biggest pala. And here, the repercussions of having a Parivartana Yoga is that on some virtual level, the grahas are, if it's called Parivartana, from Pari and Vrit, which means to move around, go back and forth, move around. That's the nirukta of the name Parivartana Yoga. And so it's as if on a virtual level, They're going back and forth and back and forth. So I usually tell this to my students.
There is a
I live in
fluctuation.
Florida. I live in Florida, and one of my students might live in Maine. And I'm renting that house in Maine, and they're renting my house in Florida. So I know that the student's renting my house, and we've exchanged houses, right? I'm wondering if that person is taking care of my orchids. And they're wondering whether or not I'm heating the house enough or their pipes are going to freeze. So they come and visit, and I go and visit all the time, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then therefore, my house benefits by my coming back to it and visiting all the time. And so does their house. And that's kind of an idea behind the Parivartana. So on virtual level, it's as if Jupiter is back in the first bhava on a virtual level, strengthening. And so this is one of the things we want to strengthen more than anything in a chart is the lagna Lord, because they're the doers. They're the, as I say, the captain of the ship. If you have a wonderful captain, they can wind up saving a ship that's in trouble. And then vice versa. So this is the other analogy I like to give. I talk about the Titanic. The Titanic was unsinkable. It was an incredible ship. So this is like having a wonderful lagna. But the captain made such egregious errors that he wound up sinking that wonderful ship. So beautiful ship, terrible captain. And then we have a situation where Captain Sully took a airplane that was crippled by flying into geese out of LaGuardia Airport. All the engines shut down. He couldn't make it back to the airport or to any other airport. And instead of panicking, falling apart, calmly he lands that plane in the Hudson River on a cold winter day. And he figures out even then to land it close enough to a ship so that if something happened, he could get his people out of the water before they freeze, and not close enough so that he lands on a ship. Perfect landing. And the ship, the plane, of course, cracks, but everybody is rescued. That's a weak lagna, a problematic lagna, but a powerful captain. So the captain of the ship is the karta, is the doer. So a Parivartana yoga that brings the lagna lord back into the lagna strengthens the whole chart in that way. The lagna lord is already strong and has what we call universal principle, aspecting back to its own bhava. And so in all of these ways, the Parivartana gives us pava of her being able to navigate through life, seizing all these opportunities and capitalizing on them. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. I presume no other questions. You had some messages. Nilima Dubey, Nidhi Gupta says, very beautifully explained. Thank you. Nilima Dubey says, superb analogies. Thank you. Srinivas Kulkarni, nice, madam. And then, one second. Chayavats says, very beautifully explained. Monica Agarwal says, knowledge and beauty in one presentation and explained in an easy to understand way. Thank you so much. That's great, Monica. Ajit says, basics very nicely, very informative, well explained, Sangeeta Kaushik. Shalini, Dipesh Parmar says, very nice analogy with the peanut butter and sandwich, my favorite since school days. Wow. Shalini says, thank you, ma'am. Lalita, thank you, ma'am. Well, two more messages. Devi Chandji says, very good explained. Devi Chandji is one of our speakers and a Parampara astrologer. Satyanarayanan from Tamil Nadu says, good, madam. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, guys. You know, I'm quite sure this, some of you would have realized that even the fundamentals of using Dasha Gochar is the way to explain it is so important. And when you learn in this system, you use that same thing when you see a chart. This is very important. Very, very important. I'll tell you how, when I used to learn Brigu astrology, and my master used to teach, he used to say with every house, planet, yoga, or anything that you see in the chart, write down on a piece of paper, either mentally or on a piece of paper, write down keywords. Then join those keywords and you get the story behind the yoga. So it's very important to combine even, in my classes, Brigu classes, I have, for Vinayak and all that were there, I've shown any planet in any house in any sign, you get 3 parameters. Each sign you get several significations. When you write all these down, your intuition will help you in joining it. And when you keep on practicing it over several charts, that's when you will realize that you're becoming in tune with the universe and how the Rishi wants you to think. It's very important. It's very, very important that you do this on a regular basis. Anyway, thank you so much, Penny. I wish you had taken a bigger lecture, and I had seen that there is some time, but anyway, good. We started your lecture on time, and that's something I wanted, because we Indians are very used to Indian stretchable time. I'm quite sure you know about it.
Yeah, I wanted to just completely emphasize what you just said. It's so beautiful. People are always very hungry for another technique. And what they sometimes miss is you need the story. And the story comes from the patient linking together of just what you said. It comes from bhava vichara, one of the most basic things we learn, patiently, because a chart is just a web of information, so much information. And one has to see the story, the connection, the patterns coming out. And it does take the development of that discernment and that cognitive ability to see those patterns. And that's shaped by the teacher. So one of the most important things in learning Jyotish is having the teacher help you shape it. Because Jyotish is not a transactional subject. Jyotish is a transformational subject. And the teacher's role is to shape the thinking. And so the idea that you can learn from a book, or even, I know this will be very unpopular, from just podcasts only, without discussion, without the interchange. Why in this chart is it like this? Why in this chart is it like this? For over long periods of time, all the nuances, discussing it with like-minded people and a teacher. This is the way that shaping can happen. And this is how it was always done. This is a parampara. You need all 3. You need teacher, you need guru, you need shishya, you need shastra.
Right.
All 3. If you're missing one of the 3, tradition breaks down. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with all of you. If I made some little contribution in any way, I'm very grateful.
That's so kind.
Teachers.
So kind of you, Penny ji, to come for this Guru Purnima event, the C.S. Patel Memorial event.